School Committee meeting. Today is Thursday, September 26th. This meeting will be broadcast to Channel 22 as well as live streamed and recorded to the MRSC YouTube channel. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 5:32. The first item on our agenda is to adjourn to executive session. We will take a roll call vote to adjourn to executive session pursuant to MGLC 30A, Section 21A4, to discuss the deployment of security personnel or devices or strategies with respect thereto. Regular open session to resume at approximately 6:30 p.m. We'll do the roll call vote. Ms. Rose. Oh, motion, sorry.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
No. Take a roll call vote. Ms. Rose. Mr. Schiff?
Aye.
Ms. Seabat-Long?
Aye.
Ms. Henderson?
Aye.
Ms. Rogers?
Aye.
Ms. Gaines?
Aye.
I am an aye, and we will adjourn to executive session at 5:33. Good evening and welcome back. We will return to open session at 6:40 p.m. The next item on our agenda is the MRHS student representative, Jason Elhilo. Welcome.
Yes, will not trip over that. Okay, I got my trusty piece of paper. I wrote a few fun things on. Hello, my name is Jason Hello, and I am a senior here at Monomoy Regional High School. I am very, very excited to be here today to be the student representative for a lot of kids in this amazing school. I mean, really, it's just such an honor to be here. I've been at the district for about 6 years now. I moved down here when I was in 6th grade. That was an interesting struggle within its own, but I have to say, coming into Monomoy as a district, it was probably one of the most welcoming experiences I've ever had, and I'm just grateful to be here in general, in this district, in this school, in this place. Start of the school year, we just started back on, the 3rd? And so far things have been running as smoothly as I can tell. So we, oh my god, I gotta figure out the order here, but we had the club fair about a week and a half ago, last week on Monday, and that introduced students to all of the clubs and amazing offerings we have here at Monomoy Regional High School, which was great for the incoming class of 2029, who have also been welcomed this year, which is really fantastic to see. They've come from middle school, and I know it's a hard transition to go from that environment into this a little crazier, a little more mature, bigger environment. But so far, it seems that they've all acclimated really well. And I'm really excited to see their futures here at the school, because even though I'm graduating by the end of this year, even by then, they're going to grow so much as people. And that's just crazy to think about, and it's amazing. We also had picture day last week, not the most important thing, but but we did have that. That's an important part of the report here. And then we get into this week. We've had a lot of good things going down. The start of open campus for seniors, of course, very advantageous for myself. It was really great. Keep that an option. It's really fun. Let's see. And then, of course, there's also Spirit Week, Homecoming Week. We got the homecoming game this Friday against Wareham, I believe, if I remember correctly. So everyone hopefully will come out for that. It'll be a really exciting game. We will hopefully win. And then there is the homecoming dance, of course, on Saturday. Very exciting. Students love that. And hopefully there'll be a huge turnout and people will have fun. That's the hope. Let's see what else we got. We also have the pep rally coming tomorrow as well. That's huge for school spirit. It's been Spirit Week as well, and the Spirit Club has put in a lot of work into really trying to foster a positive and fun environment at the school. And for all the years I've been here, they've done a really good job. People are really involved, really excited with it. And I think that it's just so good for students to feel like a welcomed part of this community, that it becomes their home after all these years, you know. If there's one thing I will remember all down all the years in line, I will always remember this place being my home. You know, this is such a nurturing, fun place to grow and mature in. And I think it's just amazing that we have such events, club fairs, Spirit Weeks, all the club offerings that we do have, sports, of course, which I know there have been many wins and many losses so far this year. Not the most sporty person, but I do know that. And yeah, it's just been really, really a good start to the year. I mean, I feel like that's a lot of the majority of what I would need to speak about. I think the school year has started off very strong, and I'm very optimistic to see what comes in the coming months. And, you know, I mean, when May and June come around, and when I am gone and then graduate and then I'm gone truly, I am really excited to leave this place, but I'm also excited to see what it'll be in the future if I ever look back, you know. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Next on our agenda is the approval of the minutes, September 12th, 2024. Anyone have any questions on the minutes?
I just want to correct one typo, and I don't.
Deja vu.
We're reading them, Brad.
But my last typo, it's under D, number 1, it's a Dykens, D-Y-K-E-N-S.
Oh, thank you.
The last time I do a
yeah.
typo, I said, promise.
Okay.
Thank you. Anyone else? Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain?
Abstain.
Motion passes. Next on the agenda is public comment. Do we have anybody here for public comment tonight? Seeing none, we will move on. Reports and discussions. The first item is the school improvement plans, Chatham Elementary and the Monomoy Regional High School.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
How are you? Jen
how are you?
Police, very proud principal, Monomoy Regional High School. I was told by Leah to make this brief. I will do so. Me with a microphone can be scary. I have opted to put this into a visual presentation. I think you have the actual school improvement plan in front of you, so to not read from the plan itself, I'm going to try to give you a, does this work or no? Thank you. All right. So as you can see up here, the three goals and focus areas for the next 3 years. One is on student learning, and particularly that student learning practices will maximize the impact of learning for each student. Goal number 2, professional practices. And this is that professional practice ensures that practices and structures support and improve student learning. This is really focused towards our educators. And then the last goal is learning support. And this is about sort of building out and maximizing a timely, directed, and coordinated approach to interventions for all students. So my visual is a flat line. And I think it's sort of descriptive of some of the data that I use to develop this, and I have some of it linked here, and I'm just going to show you quickly. I have to step over here for 1 second. And I think you guys remember this last year, but this was our, this is sort of the trends and patterns of some of our MCAS data over time. And what you see essentially is that we're basically at the state average. And the state average is starting to decline as we know. And you know, we're doing okay, but to go back to the graphic, we're kind of flatlining a little bit. And just to go back to the presentation really quick here. All right. So essentially the focus for our next 3 years is on curriculum instruction and assessment oversight and alignment. The graphic on the left is a visual of what it used to look like prior to 2024. So in the past, we had the school administration as a whole. We were overseeing our teachers, and then our teachers push it down to our students. In our next model, which is the model on the right, this is how we are functioning now, and this was as of last school year, but we still have obviously a long way to go to build this out. So now we have our school administration, we work with our curriculum directors, and our curriculum directors are now working with our instructional leaders to build capacity so they support our teachers, which ultimately impacts our students. So the goal number 1 is that students are assured of a consistent learning outcomes through defined common curricular experiences. And my belief is that we have had inconsistent oversight. We have had a lack of coordination, which has led to inconsistent outcomes. So, not to read through everything, but our goal is to focus on alignment through basically a proper oversight process, which you see on the right. So, the current landscape prior to this year is that our teachers are working in isolation. So you can see we have an island right? We have a lot of islands of excellence, but we lack collaboration. There's just an inconsistent professional practice. So so some of the emerging trends, obviously, in education is that collaboration and sharing of best practices moves teaching and learning forward. So essentially, where we want to be is we want to have high-performing teaching teams. And the graphic on the right is essentially where we are headed, which is we want to develop a model that empowers our instructional leaders to collaborate and share best practices about teaching and learning. We started this work over the summer, and we are redesigning our PLCs to focus specifically on curricular alignment. We've been all over the map, and I believe strongly that this is why we see some of the outcomes that we're seeing. We are using our PLCs to strategically talk about instruction, talk about our best practices, common assessments, to sort of pull everything together. So that's my graphic that sort of describes goal number 2. If we were to move on to goal number 3, and this is where we are building out what we're already pretty good at, which is our learning supports. And I have to credit Dr. Millen, who's here tonight, and I can't get this comment out of my head. And you said something this summer, which was that we can't intervene our way out of a tier 1 problem. All the interventions in the world will not change outcomes if we don't strengthen what's happening in tier 1. And that also means integrating social emotional learning, behavioral interventions, like how are we screening students, how are we monitoring them? So you did a great job this summer, and that comment has stayed with me, and it's sort of what has built this out. The next side of this is, and I think you all know we have wonderful clinical supports on staff, but we've recently brought on Outer Cape Health, and it's going to be a wonderful partnership because it's not just about clinical services. They provide support for food and housing insecurities. They provide medical support. So it really expands support to families beyond what we can do as educators. I think the transitional planning is something that I'm really excited about because I think this is a place that we can grow. Like, we do a good job with onboarding our grade 8 students. We can do a lot better. And I think if we focus on a real comprehensive onboarding process, this is where we can build out in like an individualized learning plan for students. We can use the MyCap, which is the DESE framework. Build out a true peer mentoring program, use our advisory like purposefully. It's used right now to schedule for JOSM. I think we can really focus on our grade 8 students here. And then one thing that we started this year is we are pushing out a quarterly grade 8 communication newsletter just for grade 8 families. I think the transition from middle to high school is a tough one, and it's probably a population that we could spend a little bit more like purposeful time on. And then, of course, the last one is our new restorative justice coordinator position, which we hope to have somebody named by tomorrow. We're getting down to our final 2 candidates. There it is. That's my graphic. And you have it in front of you. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Hi, Jen.
Hi.
I just have a question about, and I'm sure it's in here, or maybe not directly because you're already using it, but the pathways, like the STEM and engineering, are we still continuing to add to that?
Are you talking about Project Lead the Way? So this year we added aerospace engineering and we added cybersecurity. Amazing. So we continue to build those out, and I think that's, I think we have to be careful that we don't add too much that we can't support long term.
Right.
So it's been wonderful. It's been a great experience, but I think we have to land on something that we can sustain. Sure. Obviously on a long-term basis, but cyber is the fastest growing career. So It's been great.
Mr. Schiff?
And it's also accessible to pretty much everybody. So,
Mr. Schiff?
Hi, Jen.
hello, Brad.
Hi, how are you?
How are you?
What were you first started out talking about a lot of inconsistency last year and previously. What led to that?
Great question. Graphic on the left. It's really just about coordinated oversight, and that's what it looked like prior to last year. And we're a big school. We have a lot of departments. We have a lot of content to cover and to oversee, and it became something that really, I think, started to slip away. And I think the other side of that is we weren't using our internal experts, our instructional leaders in a meaningful way. So we're starting to build their leadership capacity to really focus on aligning and moving best teaching practices forward. And so the jump from last year to this year has been considerable. And just the start of the year, to really, to walk around and to sit in our PLCs and to see the alignment from one department to the other based on some of our summer work has been extraordinary.
That's great. One more question. And you talked about best practices. How did you go about identifying the best practices, collaborating on it, and determining what are the best practices?
So, there's obviously a lot of research out there, and I think we're trying to move towards a learning design model that learning is designed for everybody rather than teaching to the middle or one population. And this is not something that's going to happen overnight. One thing that you do see in there is that we are going to leverage our internal experts, and we're developing a learning walk model. So teachers are learning from internal experts.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Kelly, you're next. Dr. Kelly.
Good evening, everyone. I am here to share about what we have planned at Chatham Elementary School for the next 3 years. When we sat down with our school council and with teachers and planning this, we talked a lot about aligning our goals with the district's goals that were set forth in our most recent strategic plan. So you'll see for Chatham Elementary School, we have really 3 main focus areas, just like the strategic goals. The first being around portrait of a graduate, followed by learning and academics, and then being and wellness. As far as portrait of a graduate is concerned, I feel a lot of love for this particular one, as I was with Ms. Police on the Portrait of Graduate Committee, and I think we put a lot of hard work into that with our community members and finding what was most important to our community and how can we translate that into our schools, particularly at our early starters at elementary school, what that's going to look like in the future. So our first goal at Chatham for this upcoming period of 3 years is really working on that portrait of a graduate implementation and taking the things that we already have, which we call our SHARC expectations, that we are safe, honest, accepting, respectful, kind, and successful. And we're going to be combining those with where they naturally fit with the POG indicators. We want to develop curricular connections to each attribute at every grade level and infuse POG into CES culture. I think so much work went into the development of a portrait of a graduate. We want to make sure that it isn't kind of put on a shelf and gets dusty. We want to make sure that it becomes a living part of our school and our community. The bread and butter of our focus for moving forward is obviously learning and academics. That's why we're here. And much as it has been for the past 3 years as I've been part of this district, we're really working on building each student's foundational academic skills, particularly in the areas of reading, writing, and arithmetic. I have been here to talk to this group several times over the last few years, talking about our reading instruction and the improvement and the work that we have been making in that area. In 2021, we adopted the ARC reading program, and as I have shared with you before, when we started that program, only 33% of Chatham Elementary students were reading at a proficient level based upon the ARC, what they call their ERLA, which is their assessment program. In that time, since 2021, at the end of last year, 78.5% of our students were reading at a proficient or above reading level. And you can see as well that the at-risk and emergency numbers have been dropping each year as well. So we're really proud of the work that we have done there. That being said, even though we have these incredible gains in that program and we have this love of reading that is just exuberant amongst the school, we're still seeing issues in grades 3 and 4 on our standardized tests, particularly in MCAS. And you can see by looking at the table I provided in your handout that the struggles that our students have been having over time. I would like to note that the class of 2032, I've marked their information with an asterisk. That was our class that was most impacted by COVID. They were in kindergarten when the world shut down, just as they were learning to read. And so those literacy skills and that interruption to their learning is, unfortunately, I think we're going to be seeing it for many years to come. As we have been going through the ARC program, we have been stopping and pausing throughout instruction and implementation to see what could be better, what are our challenges, what are our successes. And one of the things that has come up time and time again is that of phonics instruction. Many different reading programs have a much more explicit way of teaching phonics, and ARC is a little bit more embedded throughout the course of the units. We worked with ARC. They responded to us and with other districts that have said similar comments, but still we're finding it's not enough. And so this past spring, we have made a decision to supplement parts of ARC with something called the University of Florida Literacy Institute, otherwise known as UFLI, that we're implementing in grades K through 2 with fidelity around phonics instruction. So it will support the ARC reading program by doing or by providing much more explicit phonics instruction. And so for reading, our goal is centering on the implementation of UFLI at Chatham Elementary School and integrating that with the ARC program reading, reducing our number of students in grades 3 and 4 who require reading intervention in the areas of phonics and reading, and increasing our scores on standardized tests. Along with reading, we have writing and language arts, and it is another area of concern. Particularly when you look at our standardized assessments. You can see on the table on page 4 in the document I provided that our MCAS essay scores are weak, and that is being generous. Out of an MCAS essay score, there is a possibility of 7 points, and you can see that over time, our grade 3 and 4 students are at most earning half credit for their essays. This is obviously an area that we need to address. I will say, having been part of other districts and other very successful districts, that this is a problem that all Massachusetts students face. And I have some really great ideas that we have had some success with in the past. So one of our really important learning goals this year will be around writing and how to increase our average student essay writing scores on standardized assessments for our 3rd and 4th grade students. We are also continuing our work in mathematics. Last year, we made huge progress in the area of math. We began a partnership with Dr. Allison Mello, really looking at the way that mathematics was being taught in our schools. And through that work, we found that the curricular program that we were using really had some weaknesses. So we have been moving to a guided math workshop model for the last year and a half. And I think you can see that there's a huge jump in scores. Last year was our first year of implementation with Fidelity of Guided Math Workshop, and in our first year of guided math implementation, that class of 2032, at the end of their third grade year, only 22% of our third graders scored in the proficient or exceeds on MCAS. And last spring, after 1 year of guided math, 49% of those students are now at proficient or above. That's an incredible gain. Also is showing up on our MAP testing, where at the end of their third grade year, that group of students, 34% were in the exceeds or proficient, and the end of last year, 63%. So guided math works. We also recognize that how students feel about math is equally important to their skills. And so one of the things that we started implementing was a self-efficacy survey for students. It basically asks them how they feel about math, how they feel as a student, can they persevere. And we administered that twice last year. We did at the beginning of the year and then the middle of the year. And you can see in the beginning of the year on page 6 in your document that almost half of our students felt that they were not good at math. They had negative feelings about math. They did not think that they could be successful in math. By the middle of the year, those numbers dropped dramatically. 7%, 10%, 14% of kids now still viewing themselves as having difficulty with math. I am in the middle of collecting all of our beginning of the year data for this year, but I can tell you the thing that makes me happiest when I look at those results is that almost every single student has said to the question, can you be successful at math? I can be successful at math, exclamation point. So they are really, really excited about that. So our instructional goal in mathematics at Chatham Elementary School this upcoming year, or over the next 3 years, is to increase the percentage of students scoring in the proficient and exceeds levels on standardized assessments, to reduce the number of students in intervention, and continue the development of instructional practices with high-quality instructional materials aligned to our state frameworks. And the last major area of our improvement plan has to do with being in wellness. I think we do a lot of things really well at Chatham Elementary School, but I really am most proud of the work that we do in community building and making sure that every student feels safe and that they belong. So we will continue to expand on the work that we have done to bring in our very diverse population and bring everyone together. We also recognize that there is a mental health crisis going on in our country, and particularly in this area, and that we will continue to provide that mental, emotional, and physical support for all of our students. So our goal in being in wellness is to offer a wide range of opportunities for the expansion and celebration of community interests, and to decrease office referrals and absences while increasing the mental, emotional, and physical well-being of students through consistent language protocols and data analysis. The following pages of the document really just goes into what what we're hoping to do over the next 3 years in each area. With Portrait of a Graduate, this first year, we're looking to integrate that language all over the school through our newsletters, through our SHARC assemblies, by aligning our SHARC expectations with the POG indicators, through our staff communications and staff meetings. For the following year, we really will focus on identifying those curriculum areas and where we can develop activities or realign units to better mesh with the POG standards, and designing activities to support the POG. And then finally, just assessing our progress and revising as needed. In the areas of academics, for reading this current year, 2024-2025, we're really looking to provide ongoing professional development with the UFly program. We're collaborating with Hill for Literacy for coaching and implementation. We're encouraging all of our staff to take the Science of Reading course, and we are incorporating UFly with Fidelity across the board. Next year, we will definitely review our implementation results and make necessary adjustments. And we're going to dig into how our students are doing by group, so looking at our low-income students, our English learners, our special education students, and seeing if their results are different, and if so, how we can amend that. Looking at writing, we were going to begin analyzing our student writing K through 4 using the ARC program and our MCAS scores. We are going to start some work on calibrating how we're grading writing and what our expectations for writing are. We have a writing task force that will be starting up in the middle of the year, and I am highly encouraging our CES staff to join that. And we're going to be looking at the development of grade level assessments in writing that we can all be a part of. We will be participating in writing professional development and using that grade level assessment as we move on. And finally, using that data to guide instruction in PD. And continuing the work with the task force. In mathematics, we're going to continue the professional development work with guided math with Allison Mello. We're going to continue implementing guided math workshop. We have begun working with Lisa Westman, who has been working with the middle school and the high school for the last few years on teacher clarity and formative assessments in math. We're participating in a high-quality instructional material pilot of materials for mathematics. We'll be implementing Math Fact Lab, and we'll continue to survey our students and our staff about tracking their feelings about efficacy and their well-being with math. Next year, we hope to be implementing some new curricular programs, depending on the work of this year, and always analyzing the work that we're doing. Ultimately, again, the goal is to reduce our number of students in need of intervention and increase our students' levels of success. And for being and wellness, first goal is about providing a wide range of opportunities. We always are looking to expand our Shark Tank or our community resources at our curriculum night. We are looking and working really hard, and Joy Jordan actually helped us out with this yesterday, on ways to increase our translation options for families and the different events that we can have our families come in and that they can be able to participate. We are researching and bringing in cultural presentations and groups for our students. We are expanding our club offerings. I have to give a shout out to all of the teachers who run clubs at Chatham Elementary School. 98% of Chatham Elementary School students participated in a club last year, and it was an amazing experience for everybody, and we're gunning for 100% this year. We're going to continue our outreach with all families. We are hoping to plan for a cultural night or day so we can celebrate the many different cultures at CES. We are looking to foster and make and deepen the relationships with all of the amazing community resources that we have. And this year we're looking to partner with the Chatham VFW for our annual Veterans Day Assembly. Next year the goal will be to finally have this cultural night that we've been planning. We want to keep surveying our families to make sure that they are feeling that they belong and they have voice in our community. And our ultimate goal is that 90% or more of our students are participating in clubs, that 90% or more of our families are attending our school activities, and that 100% of students, staff, and families are proud to be a shark. That is what I have. Questions, if you have them. Yes?
A great report. There's two numbers here that I just find extraordinary. I just need to know how you did it. One is on the reading instruction. I mean, they just defy math in terms of the change, as well as math itself, in terms of just going from the beginning of the year in just 3 or 4 months and turning that around in terms of the attitude. How did you go about doing both of those
So
in terms
with
of getting the results?
math piece, with our approach to guided math, the approaches that we were using were very sage on the stage. A teacher was showing how to do a problem. There wasn't a lot of opportunity for student talk, exploration, or engagement. We moved to a model where we take things in smaller chunks. The focus is on students exploring and talking and manipulating, and they love it. I had kids at the beginning of last year who had grown when it was time for math. Now I walk down the halls and I hear kids chanting. There's an activity we do that's called 3-act tasks. And I can hear fourth graders chant, 3-act test, 3-act test, because they are so excited about doing it. They found success. Our teachers worked really hard at bringing in activities. We call them low floor, high ceiling, which is an activity that a student, is presented to the whole class, but that every student can participate in a meaningful way. So even our students who might be multiple years behind can still participate in a way that makes sense. They can work collaboratively with their peers, and then it's engagement. So I think that for math, number one is, and just, I have to say, my teachers have just done an amazing job. This was really asking them to kind of turn all their teaching practices upside down, and they took it and they ran with it, and now they blow me out of the water with all of their encouragement and all the things that they want to do with their students. With reading, the reading program, we made such great gains in that first year because it changed the way that we were teaching ELA. Our ARC reading program really breaks things down into different reading levels. And so even when you're having a whole class activity, say they're doing a report on bugs, second grade researches bugs. In the past, the research materials were all at the same level. So some of your kids couldn't access that material, some it was beneath them. ARC provides different leveled readers so that every student can participate at the level that they need for their learning style, and it's really focused on differentiation, which is the most important thing. If we've learned anything in education, is that we have to meet kids where they are and then build them up. And I think the reading program that we have implemented and the math structures that we are using is doing exactly that, and that's why we're having success. We still have a long way to go, believe me. I talk to Robin about this all the time. We have a really long way to go. But the strides that we have made and the energy that we are feeling is just, it's a really nice, as an administrator, really nice to be a part of.
Extraordinary.
Thank you.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm just trying to figure something out. I thought I might ask Mary, but
I was trying to help.
neither of us figured it out. The second page, well, basically the first page of the presentation, MCAS ELA versus the IRLA, grade 3 MCAS scores. There is a notation that says, please note, class of 2032 were impacted by COVID,
Yeah.
and they're marked with an asterisk. So I see that we were, in 2021, we were at 70% proficient, and then 22, we were at 72%, and then in 2023, we're at 44%. That's the class of 2032?
That's the class of 2032, yes.
Okay, and then we track that down, the class of 2032.
Is 2024
column?
fourth grade, yeah.
Okay, all right, perfect, thank you.
So you can see that, so for example, for MCAS in 2023, that class, only 44% was proficient, and they were 62 proficient, I'm sorry, 37 this past year. Yeah, so it just jumps over.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very
Appreciate
much.
it.
All right.
Okay, moving on to the first reading of the 2024-2025 superintendent goals. I'm passing these out. Thank you.
Okay, so we have a draft of Dr. Carpenter's goals for 2024.
Jesse, one sec.
Just a quick question, because they weren't previously in our packet. Are we okay to proceed?
If you'd like to.
I mean, it's just not if I'd like to or not, it's just, they weren't in our packet.
I'll defer to the chair.
I'm deferring to the chair.
Would you prefer to wait? I'm not sure what
Well, it's
the
not
proper
preference,
protocol.
it's just what's
It
correct to do
wasn't
or
in the
not.
packet, correct. Yeah. Okay, because this was just today's meeting, wasn't it?
Yes.
Okay, so that's why it wasn't in the packet, it was today's meeting. So we'll hold off? How's that? Okay, we're going to move that to the next meeting. And we're going to move on to the AP government trip to Washington, D.C.
Hi, John Dixon, Monomoy High School. Thanks for taking this up tonight. Sorry I wasn't able to make the last meeting. We are basically looking to replicate the trip that was such a great success last year. And I've already have some of the similar things lined up. I've been in touch with, say, Grace Fernandez, our rich grad who works for Senator Markey, coordinate that the Congress will be back in session the week we're there. We will be there for Veterans Day again. All 13 students in the class have indicated availability and interest in going. Of course, there's still some logistics to work out before everyone signed up, but I'm hopeful that all the students will be able to attend. And that was the one thing I did different was the first year I tried to sign them up in June, and that was before all the schedule had shaken out, and that ended up with a lot of kids putting deposits who didn't end up in the class, and other kids ended up in the class who weren't signed up, and so there was a lot of scrambling last fall. So this year I waited till I actually had students in front of me to say who would be interested, and that's why we're coming to you later this time than we did before.
I'm going to start.
Yeah, please.
So is this through a company, like we've done like EF tours and stuff in the past?
No, I've always done, with the exception of the international trips I've led, I've always done them myself.
Okay.
I mean, the basics are reserve hotel rooms and reserve flights, and the rest, it's talking to Grace, arranging and getting a meeting, talking to someone I know in the State Department, arranging that. It's all that kind of arranging that we do.
Okay.
And it costs less because I'm not paying the tour company.
How are you?
So I could.
Do we have a cost yet?
I don't, because until I'm approved, until I can then reserve rooms and talk to the airlines and get a price, because I mean, the costs look like they're going to be similar, I think, probably a little higher, because last year was, I thought, very fortunate to get it at what was $625 is what students were paying last year, which is very cheap for a 4-day trip. And I expect it to be a little bit higher, but the prices, we did look to say at least the prices these are definitely off-peak times when prices are reasonable to get them. One of the real advantages, which looks like we can do it again this year, is to stay at the Holiday Inn Capitol Hill, which is right by the Air and Space Museum, which means we can walk everything. And flights are cheap into Washington National, so we fly there, and the only transport we need is the metro. So I don't need a bus, I don't need to reserve cars or buses, we just use the metro and we walk.
Oh, great.
So.
That sounds great. I want to go.
Any concerns on the dates?
Now that Congress has funded the government through the 20th of December, now I feel better. Last year, I can't remember, one of the CRs was right around the date we were going, and we're like, oh my God, if they don't pass a CR and the government's in shutdown. But no, now that the government been continued, it was. And having been in touch with Grace, and say the Congress will be back in session that week. It is a week after the election.
Yeah.
I do remember we were there a week after the election in 2008, and that was actually a really interesting time to be there a week after the election. In terms of something like a January 6th kind of event, that was organized around a very specific, the counting of the ballots in the one, and that had been organized, that demonstration, for months ahead of time. I don't expect whatever's happening, whether we still don't know who win the election. It would be a really interesting time to do it, but I'm not. I don't have a concern in terms of the potential for something like a January 6th event happening while we were there.
So what's the plan, though, if something does present as it might not be the best idea to be there at that time? Because with a company, and you have the insurance that, okay, we can move it, we can get your money back or whatever. But where we don't go through a company, what's the plan?
Well, it would be to recoup, usually hotels, you're able up to a certain date to get money back, and I'll have that note, what's my drop dead about with the hotels. Usually with airlines, up by a certain date, you can bank miles or get, get a voucher for a future flight. So I will have all that arranged so we know drop dead dates about when we can and when we couldn't get money back from it. And then make sure we make those decisions by then.
Would it be possible to put it on a different date? Are you going in November because it's cheaper with the flights and the spring is more expensive? I'm trying to understand the timing.
It partly is also between seasons.
Yeah.
So kids are participating either in fall sports or winter sports, or that we're trying to hit those times. Now, we did look at alternate dates. We were looking at dates in January, which would actually be, there's a slot between January 6th and January 20th where we actually reasonably could go. If anything, there's, again, depending on what happened in that, we'd have maybe more concerns about what kind of things might be happening in the Capitol then. I really think a week after the election, people are going to be, still processing. I don't think any type of, large-scale event is something that's going to happen that quickly. If, again, I certainly don't expect it to happen, and if it were to happen, it would be something that would end up happening later.
And it's the backup plan that we want to know, like how do we get out of it so that people aren't out the money? We don't want people to put money in.
The plan would be to have drop-dead dates about up to what point can we get a refund, and again, it's usually, I'll talk to the hotel, it's usually somewhat 24 hours ahead or something like that, and to make sure that we know up to that point, and then, once we go, then we go, and in terms of how we get out of there, if something happens, we're in a major facility at the Holiday Inn. If we needed to spend time in the hotel, because that was the safest place to be, that's where we'd spend time.
Anyone else have questions? Mr. Schiff?
John, just sounds like an incredible opportunity, for students. But so when they come back, for what they learned, do they put together a report or a project, and how do they, provide, debrief from all of this? So really demonstrating what it is that they learned.
So last year, the first time we've done this as an AP trip, we came back, we certainly did some debrief. We had, I can't remember who we had. We had some reporter come in and talk to them. I can't remember if it was CAI or if it was Cape Cod Chronicle, but which was sort of interesting to have a reporter come in and ask them questions and have them process with that. But the main thing is this is what they're learning every day. They're learning about, obviously, to last year when we do the unit on the executive branch, for them having been in the State Department building on Mahogany Row, that just meant everything we did, we had direct connections to make. They sat in on a Senate subcommittee hearing that Senator Markey took them to. So we learned about hearings and how hearings operate. Well, they saw it in operation. So I don't, what they learn there gets reinforced. It just becomes part of the curriculum. So I didn't have a separate kind of activity where they produced something based on it. That said, I'm certainly, you plant a seed in my mind about, okay, what could we do that might grab some of those moments along the way that we can then directly feed back to. So I will think about that.
Sure. I bet we would love to be able to see when they came back and made a presentation on what it is that they learned, and that can help
that would
foster future trips.
Absolutely. So I like the suggestion. Thank you.
Meredith?
Yeah, I'm good. Just wanted to confirm the dates, because on the front page, it says 11/10 to 11/13, but the itinerary is 11/8.
Oh, the itinerary was the example one. That was from last year.
Oh, got it.
That's last year's as an example.
Okay,
I don't have a detailed itinerary yet for this year.
All right.
So it would be the 10th to the 13th.
Okay,
is what
gotcha.
we're planning on.
Okay.
Would you like a motion now, or do you want to wait till the end?
Does anyone else have any other questions? We'll go for a motion.
Sure. I move to approve the AP government trip to Washington DC as presented in your packet with some updates as this is
Second.
last year's, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Enjoy your trip.
Thank you. We'll report back.
Mr. Dixon, before you leave,
Yeah.
just one little thing, if this is of interest. We've got Monomoy students who now work on Capitol Hill, so maybe you can work something in and see if they can join you.
So, I'm the
My
graduates.
daughter.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, we'll talk. We'll
Yeah,
talk.
please, shoot me an email. And
Okay, I will.
There is a number of alums that, like Grace Fernandez,
Yeah.
Miriam Saad, I was in touch with her brother, she's
Yeah.
working in DC, so
Yeah.
there's a
It'd be kind
number
of a
of.
nice little-
Yeah, so send
We'll
me,
talk.
send me
Okay.
send me an email. And
Yeah.
yes, absolutely, we want to take advantage of every one of those we can.
Yeah, that would be good.
It's
Thank
awesome.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Subcommittee Representative Liaison Reports, it looks like we have none. And moving on to the Superintendent's Report.
I have two recognitions. First, Outer Cape Health Services Navigator has opened a school-based services site at our high school. So our high school's joined with Outer Cape Health Services to offer additional support to our school community. The service will provide on-site access to the Outer Cape Health Services Navigator service and telebehavioral and telemedicine appointments. The school-based navigator will work alongside school personnel to help students and families access locally based services and resources. And then second, we'd really like to thank the generous donation of Subaru of New England. Every Chatham Elementary School student was given by them a math toolbox to take home, and the school was given an additional $15,000 dedicated towards special projects to support students. Each year, Subaru of New England schedules a community service project at their annual conference, which was held at Chatham Bars Inn this year. The team at CBI recommended Chatham Elementary School to Subaru as a worthy recipient. Each elementary student received a box filled with markers, whiteboard, clock, dominoes, playing cards, pencils, number charts, number line protractor, ruler, math games, and more. This comprehensive set of materials will support and reinforce students' learning and practicing math. Dr. Kelly was also invited to the conference's final dinner, where members of the team spoke about the company's commitment to give back to the community, and she was surprised by them at the very end with the $15,000 check for the school. So she is pleased as punch. We immediately got all sorts of happy texts from Dr. Kelly. So thank you to Subaru of New England. I'd also like to just remind the school committee that November 6th through 9th, there is a joint MASC, Mass Association of School Committee, and MASS, Massachusetts Association of School Superintendents, hosted joint conference that's at the Cape Cod Resort in Hyannis. It's November 6th through the 9th this year. So it begins Wednesday on the 6th at 12:30 in the afternoon, and there are festivities that go on up to 9 o'clock at night if you want to stay for the dinner and beyond on Thursday. Thursday and Friday, it's pretty much from 7:30 in the morning until 9 if you stay for the dinner portion of that. And then Saturday, there are morning sessions from 7:30 to 11:45. Just let Leah know if you're interested in attending some of that, and she can get you registered for the conference.
Thank you. Moving on, we are moving into the approval of the MRHS Animal Welfare Club donation to the Sampson Fund. Mr. McMillan.
Good evening, school committee. This is a repeat of last meeting, so it's just I have two similar items as we did last time. The first is a donation from our student activity account for the Animal Welfare Club to the Sampson Fund, which helps to provide funds for people to get treatment for their pets.
Any questions? We have a motion. Jackie?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
I'd like to approve the donation of $100 from the Monomoy Regional High School Student Activity Animal Welfare Club account to the Sampson Fund.
Need a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, passes. And then the approval of the payment of prior year fiscal '24.
Thank you, and same as last time, we're still receiving invoices which require funds to be used to pay for services that were received last year. This is another $5,028.16 for 4 different vendors, and this takes the total up to just over $35,000 in total so far. Hopefully, we're coming to the end of it.
Any questions? Jackie?
I'd like to approve the payment of $5,028.16 in FY24 invoices not previously encumbered as presented to the school committee.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. We've had the presentation of the warrants. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We will adjourn at 7:36.